Welcome, inmates, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Reviews from the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And we're doing something a little different this week. In our lead up to the Academy Awards, we're not reviewing one movie. In fact, we're not really reviewing a movie. We're reviewing an Oscar ceremony where we feel that the wrong picture won Best Picture.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always going to be controversy about what movie should have won. We're seeing that this year with Green Book kind of being a front runner when it's not really a good movie. And with
I haven't seen it, so I can't really say, but the buzz has not been positive.
The buzz has been that in a year where black-led cinema has excelled, and in fact that there are two movies nominated in the same category that are prominently black casts, black crew, that the movie that redeems the white racist man could win is a bit on the tone-deaf side.
Just a little bit.
And if it's not that, then it could very well be the movie directed by the pedophile. So
yeah, all the way around. Thumbs up, right?
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it? So every year there's always controversy. Last week I brought up the one that, it goes without saying, the 1998 Academy Awards. And when I say 1998, I mean the films were released in 1998. The ceremony was in 99, but it's for the film year of 1998. That's the proper way of doing this, folks. Maybe not according to Wikipedia, but it's the way I do it. Where Saving Private Ryan should have won Best Picture. Although
Shakespeare in Love
was an excellent movie.
It was.
It was an excellent movie. It's just that Saving Private Ryan was like the greatest war film ever made,
I don't know. I think maybe the fact that the first 20, 30 minutes are so good that the rest of the movie doesn't quite shine as much. I think that might have...
It's a reverse Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly.
So this week we're discussing the Academy Awards, 67th Academy Awards, Mike?
Yep.
Okay. Which was for 1994. The winner that year was Forrest Gump. The nominees that year were Four Weddings and a Funeral, Quiz Show, Pulp Fiction, and Shawshank Redemption. So, Mike, I posit the question to you. A, should Forrest Gump have won?
No. No, it should not have.
Out of the other four movies that I listed off, which do you believe should have won and why?
I believe it is the current #1 on the IMDb top 250 movies of all time list, The Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
Because it is a masterpiece. I'm not even a big fan of Stephen King films, and this one is just amazing on every level. Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins are they're fantastic. I cannot believe that. Don't get me wrong, Forrest Gump is a decent movie.
Right.
It is nowhere near as good as Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
Not by a long shot.
Okay. I love Shawshank Redemption. I remember though when it was nominated, it was kind of like that fringe nominee. That and Four Weddings and a Funeral were the only two movies to not be nominated for Best Director, and back then that was just you didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, it was a kiss of death.
It was a kiss of death, essentially. Obviously that's changed a little bit, even though the last time a movie won Best Picture without having its director nominated was back in 2013 for Argo.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a weird thing to begin with. Shawshank Redemption was one of these movies that found new life on home video, back when you could still find life on home video.
Yeah, I actually first saw it, I think, on TNT or TBS or something like that.
Well, and that's the joke now, is that if you went to go see it in the movie theater, you would have seen the TNT stamp right on the lower right.
Yeah.
So it's It's just that's kind of the joke. It's always on TNT. It is a great movie, though, and for one of those movies that is the triumph of the human spirit type of movies, it's really well done. It's interesting too because out of all the actors, it was Morgan Freeman that got the Oscar nomination.
I mean, it's weird because if you look at it from a certain point of view, that movie is Morgan Freeman's story.
It's Red's movie.
Yeah.
It is completely Red's movie. It's really not Andy's movie. Andy is just the character there to get the story going, but it's Red's story. Red is telling the story.
I mean, the plot revolves around Andy.
Right.
But Red is the narrator. He's the one it starts with. He's the one it kind of ends with.
Right. But it's one of those things, though. I can understand at the time why it didn't win. It's one of those hindsight being 2020 things of, well, maybe we should have given it a little more attention when it was out. Kind of like in '98 when Roberto Benigni won Best Director, Best Actor, and everyone immediately got buyer's remorse.
As soon as he started jumping around on the seat, so yeah, I think we did the wrong one here.
Right. Well, it was just that his follow-up works were terrible, and Ian McKellen, who should have won that year, didn't. And Ian McKellen is just amazing. Yeah,
consistently.
Yeah. All right, now I have 1994, so I'm an old man, so I was an adult when all these movies came out. I saw every single one of them in the theater, with the exception of Shawshank Redemption, because it was kind of art house.
That's fair.
It never came around. I did see it immediately when it came on home video. But I mean, Four Weddings and a Funeral, that's a shock nomination. Maybe deserved to be there. Maybe it didn't. I love Richard Curtis's work. It's a very cute movie, and Andie MacDowell is the only thing wrong about that movie. Everything else in that movie is fantastic except for her, because she's a terrible actress.
I mean, that's kind of problematic considering she's one of the leads, though.
Yeah, but you can tell why they dubbed her voice out in Greystoke.
I did like her a lot in Groundhog Day, though.
Right. Well, that's playing to her strengths. Just act against Bill Murray and let Bill Murray do everything for you.
Yeah.
Hugh Grant is just, he's a stammer machine. He's just so charming and just ill-equipped for it.
He's British.
Very British. Quiz show, I felt needed more love at the Oscars.
That was Robert Redford, right?
Robert Redford. What's that?
Robert Redford, right?
Yeah, Robert Redford directed it. It was John Turturro and Ralph Fiennes. And this is right after Schindler's List. And now you get to see Ralph Fiennes in color. And he's just this very charming, handsome guy. And it's a fantastic story. It's based on a true story about them fixing the television quiz shows just to help their viewership by getting new, better-looking guests, champions on. If you haven't seen it, it is definitely worth a watch. Because it's a period piece, it doesn't feel dated at all.
Yeah.
And then my choice for what should have won Best Picture that year was Pulp Fiction. Because if the Academy is there to award innovation in cinema, Pulp Fiction for 1994 was the most innovative film to have come out in a decade. It's a complete breakdown of the 3-act structure. Things happen in a completely and out of order sense, but everything makes sense story-wise unless you're an idiot. I mean, spoilers if you have not seen the 25-year-old movie. But John Travolta, who is the primary character in the movie, is killed halfway through the movie and then is back at the third act of the movie, primarily because the third act of the movie happens before the second act of the movie. And it's a really cool deconstruction. It's dripping with cool. The soundtrack of that movie is it's just a who's who of just awesome surf guitar and just like early 70s just R&B jams and some interesting like 60s, early 70s country. I mean, there's the Statler brothers are on there. There's so much fun stuff in there. And the actors in this movie, these are the best performances that the majority of these actors have given. Uma Thurman earned her Oscar nomination. Samuel L. Jackson deserved, if it weren't for the fact that Martin Landau was just so goddamn amazing in Ed Wood, Samuel L. Jackson deserved that Oscar. John Travolta is not a good actor, but he was good in this. And then you have other people too. Ving Rhames is in this. Bruce Willis is in this, and this is Bruce Willis's best performance because I don't feel like I'm watching Bruce Willis or the Bruce Willis type. I'm watching Butch, the down on his luck boxer who decides to throw the fight in favor of the guys that were paying him more money and not Marcellus Wallace, the guy who paid him to throw the fight in the first place.
Hold on, I got it. Yeah, I know. Come
on.
Oh,
you got a cat there?
Yeah, I do. Come on. Come on.
Oh, there you go. All right. Yeah, now you get your headphones back on now. That's
Yeah, because I couldn't hear you. But he couldn't come down with the cable here.
Yeah. I mean, and the movie itself is iconic. I mean, you don't need to have seen Pulp Fiction, and you can see the dance sequence with Travolta and Uma Thurman. There's a GIF that I posted the other day about, best movie of the 90s. And it's just Samuel Jackson eating the hamburger and not breaking eye contact from these dudes that he's got to come in there and kill. And he's just trying to intimidate. It's just, you don't get movies like that. You really don't get movies like that anymore. And Tarantino had made this his type of movie up until Inglourious Basterds when he decided to do something completely different and succeeded with that. I mean, the guy, for his faults, is a fantastic filmmaker.
Yeah, I'm just not the biggest fan of Tarantino.
Right. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, his films just tend to be a little bit too down and dirty for me. A little bit too.
Right. But I like that about them. I like that it's more, just dudes with guns talking about pop culture and eating hamburgers and discussing the merits of religion and whether or not the fact that they weren't killed by this kid who had a hand cannon, whether or not that was an actual miracle or not. And
maybe they were, and maybe they were killed, and the whole movie was them in the afterlife.
Maybe. I mean, it's worth a look because it's just such a cool movie. And over the course of the last 25 years, out of all these movies, Shawshank holds its own. And again, it's that TNT go-to movie. But what I want to talk about, my favorite non-genre movie, the stuff that isn't, it's not Star Wars, it's not Marvel, it's not superheroes, it doesn't have to do with swords and sorcery or spaceships or anything like that. That favorite movie is Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it's definitely not mine. My favorite non-genre movie came out in 1975.
Jaws?
Yep.
Okay, I would call that horror, but okay. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
So, what about Forrest Gump then? I mean, you and I have made cases for what we felt should have won. What is it about Forrest Gump that didn't deserve to win Best Picture?
I mean, honestly, it's the fact that the main character of Forrest Gump, he's a likable character, but he has no character arc. Where you see him pretty much at the beginning as a kid is pretty much where you see him at the very end.
Right. The best take on Forrest Gump that I have ever heard was that Forrest Gump is just walking through life. He experiences things, but there's no general impact to him because he's just going to experience something else. He lives his life just on the straight and narrow. And the major criticism about this film is that the people around him, the people who are soldiers, who experiment, who go on and try to do things with their life are punished in ways like Lieutenant Dan losing his legs. Or, I mean, Bubba's essentially just another Forrest Gump, and he just happened to get killed by that shrapnel. But Jenny lives her life, and she goes off, and she tries to find herself, and she gets away from her abusive father and from everything, the abusive boyfriends and the Black Panthers and all that. And how is she rewarded with all of that at the very end? AIDS and death. That is her reward. And she died on my 10th birthday, apparently, because the gravestone actually says March 22nd, 1982. Oh. Yeah, I know.
It was innovative. It was innovative in that, you know, the use of technology, like putting Forrest in with like a Richard Nixon, JFK, and all that. But okay, yeah, he made JFK. I don't care.
Right, but the thing is that he's not like he met JFK. He shook his hand. I have to pay. The issue I really had with that stuff was the voice talents that they were using essentially didn't sound like the people. They sounded like people doing impressions of the people.
That's fair.
It's John Kennedy. He says he has to go pee. You know, Richard Nixon. The John Lennon one is the one that killed me. Oh, my God. I can do a better John Lennon than that guy.
I honestly, I don't even remember the John Lennon part. That's how little that movie affected me.
So Forrest Gump is the ping pong world champion, and he goes to the Dick Cavett show. Fortunately, Dick Cavett's still alive, so they can get him to do his thing. But obviously, John Lennon was dead for 14 years before that. So, but it's like, and I was in China, and they didn't have any God, no religion, no freedom. Imagine. It was just... realistically speaking, Paul Rudd in Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, did a better John Lennon than the guy in Forrest Gump.
Maybe they hired Ringo.
Right. But it's just, I mean, there's just a lot of stuff there that is, I mean, I've made mention about this a lot on our podcast, that during the stretch of like the mid to late 80s, you could tell the baby boomers were in charge because everything was how friggin' awesome the 50s and the 60s were. And we need to bring that back. We just got to have that sense of, you know, peace, love, and harmony, man, but still at the same time have this very, very straight edge patriotic bent. Forrest Gump is kind of the last gasp of that because, you know, it was made by baby boomers.
Well, I mean, Zemeckis, and I mean, look what he did with the 1950s and Back to the Future.
Right. Exactly. And it works with Back to the Future because Back to the Future is just...
It's a fantasy.
You know, it's a culture shift for one human being. Yeah. With Forrest Gump, the biggest issues I have with it are that the hippies are shrill idiots. The Black Panthers are thugs. The army, to an extent, is just slightly better than everybody else. Like the military guys are slightly better than everybody else. And the only people of any redemption in that entire movie are Forrest and his saintly mother. And I swear to God, I will punch a bitch for anybody who tells me life is like a box of chocolates ever again.
Well, I mean, life is like a box of chocolates. There's always a coconut one.
Yes, exactly. Life's like a box of chocolates. You go, oh, cherry. Ah. Tastes like loogies. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Close to it, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand why it did so well. I also don't understand that, you know, 3 years after Beauty and the Beast, how The Lion King didn't make it into the nominations.
Yeah. I mean, if Hamlet is considered one of the greatest plays of Shakespeare and a lion-based adaptation is considered like one of the greatest films of that year.
Right.
Was this pre best animation category?
Yeah, the best animated feature category started in 2001, and your winner was Shrek. Back then, the 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 animation Oscar, the Disney Oscar, was best song and best score. You go back and you look at movies where a major Disney movie was released, it won one, or it won the other, or it won both. And that actually goes up a little bit. That goes up to Pocahontas, actually, because Pocahontas the very next year would win Best Song. And that's actually when they split the categories too into a comedy and drama category for scoring, because they were concerned about the whole Disney. It was the Disney Award.
Yeah.
But in '94, Lion King won for both song for "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" and Hans Zimmer's score.
Oh, appropriately, because that's one of my favorite Hans Zimmer scores.
Right. And I mean, another movie that should have been nominated for Best Picture, if you really want to pick apart movies that should have been nominated and weren't even nominated, Ed Wood.
Yeah, easily.
I mean, Ed Wood won for Martin Landau. It's a fantastic role, and he just absolutely deserved it.
Yeah.
But Ed Wood should have been nominated for so much more. Picture, director, cinematography. It should have been nominated for cinematography. They nominated the boring Wyatt Earp cinematography. They didn't nominate Stefan Zapsky's amazing black and white cinematography for that movie. It's just 94 was just, it was a tough year because one of the biggest, most talked about films was an anti-establishment film, and they went with the hard and fast establishment movie.
I mean, honestly, I would have chosen Tim Burton's Tim Burton for Best Director, way over Woody Allen for Bullets Over Broadway.
Yeah, Bullets Over Broadway is actually a really fun movie, and that was kind of like his redemption movie.
But against Tim Burton for that?
Against Tim Burton, it's a tough call. I mean, because usually back then, there was another nominee.
There was
Best Director.
Robert Zemeckis, Woody Allen. Huh?
That's the one I would have removed. Krzysztof Kieślowski
for Red.
It's a foreign movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
I would have removed. I would have probably removed that one. In favor of Tim Burton. I would have kept Woody Allen. I would have taken out.
I mean, seriously, the Academy really had a hard on for Forrest Gump that year, didn't they?
6 wins. 6 wins. The only movie out of the other 4 nominees to even win anything was Pulp Fiction, and that was original screenplay.
Yeah.
The other 3 were completely shut out.
Yeah.
So
Uma Thurman was shut out with lost Best Supporting Actress.
Yep.
Tom Hanks won over.
Yep. Second year in a row for him. He won the year before for Philadelphia.
Yeah, only the second person in history to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just this was a year where the movies that ended up becoming like the big staples were the movies that didn't get the love.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens. That happens way too often.
It does. But I mean, it's trite to say that the Academy gets it wrong every year. Some years they do get it right.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, this year especially because, again, my favorite non-genre movie was the one that lost. And out of all of the movies, odds-wise, stood the best chance of beating Forrest Gump, even though we all knew it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else you got to say about that?
About that, no.
Oscar topic?
Yeah.
All right. What is going on with the 4 the 4 categories that are going to be broadcast off during commercial breaks this year?
Well, I mean, to be fair, you don't really need cinematography or editing to make a movie, right?
Right, exactly. The 2 things that are like purely film don't need to have any recognition in terms of a general public.
And in fact, isn't like the president of the Academy, isn't he like a cinematographer?
I think he might be. It's just it's that, and I think was it the two short feature.
It was best. They pushed off best cinematography, best editing, best live action short film, and best makeup and costumes.
Right, all very important crafts to film. Editing, especially because editing is one of those linchpin nominations that almost always dictates the best picture winner.
I mean, how many movies do you say that was saved in the editing room?
Oh, Jaws, your
exactly.
favorite movie, is saved in the editing room.
Exactly, Verna Fields.
Right.
And she won, actually, Best Editor.
Star Wars was saved in editing.
Big time.
Yeah. And then cinematography. I mean, that's the first, that's what you look at. It's the director that moves the camera, but it's the cinematographer that sets up the shots. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing it through the cinematographer's eyes. Those two categories, I could understand like some of the short feature stuff.
Yeah.
I don't get the makeup one. That's weird.
I mean, if I had my druthers, I would have it still in the broadcast.
You know what they could do? They could get rid of the nonsensical musical numbers that have nothing to do with the 5 nominees for best song. It's also weird too because there's no host. So with no host, you know, you've got plenty of time just to get these things going. I mean, I have an idea.
Oh,
I have an idea. So, if you win an Oscar, first of all, thanks for watching. If you win an Oscar next Sunday, and one of the winners for any of those 4 categories is sitting near you, yield your time and let them come up and make their speech in front of a live audience.
I like that.
Yeah. I understand if you're also kind of dealing with people like the documentary filmmaker or something like that. But if you are, I'm just gonna throw it. If you're Marshawn Ali, dude, you won an Oscar already. Call up the winner of Best Cinematography. Call up the editor and just say, "Listen, this is your time. Talk to the millions of people out on watching you right now."
Yeah, it's so weird too. Like when we mentioned like a best song, they backtracked on that one because it was like, oh no, we're only gonna have 2 songs.
Yep, and Lady Gaga saved that.
And then 2 days later, they're like, no, we're gonna have all the songs now. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, that was Lady Gaga. She saved that whole thing. God bless her. And it should be interesting too because this is the first year where I have 0 issue with any of the 5 songs.
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal favorite, but I really don't think I would mind if any of them win.
I too have a personal favorite. I also have the one I would love to win just because, you know, Black Panther, you know, Wakanda Forever. But I listened to Shallow for the first time this week. I don't know how I escaped it. I listened to it and I'm like, this is gorgeous. And part of it was because this is where you always get me, make music people. You put in the strings, you put in the low cello, and all of a sudden I'm like, just here, take my money.
I am a sucker for a good string, like boost of the music.
Right, and I mean the Academy's still going to come a long way to make it up to me for snubbing Lin-Manuel 2 years ago.
And Lego Movie.
Lego Movie was a weird one. I understand where they were coming from for the Selma win.
No, Lego Movie for animation.
Well, yeah, that fell under the Ben Affleck thing. Everyone thought someone else was going to nominate it, so nobody nominated it.
It should have won too, honestly.
That was 2014. That was Big Hero 6.
I love Big Hero 6.
I love Big Hero 6 too, but Lego Movie was a better movie.
Way better.
Yeah, well, Warner Brothers, you done screwed up. So that's it for 1994. Next week, Mike, do you want to let our audience know what year we're going to be covering?
We're jumping forward 1 year.
Wow. Oh my God. They got it wrong twice in a row. Holy
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the 68th annual Academy Awards next week.
Okay, fantastic. Do your research beforehand so you can find out what movies we're going to talk about. And why don't you make it a game to guess what you think Mike and I would pick for our winners?
I don't think it's going to be all that hard of a choice.
Yeah. I actually had a couple.
Yeah. I got one.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah.
I know you do. So, what do you think about our thoughts on the '94 Oscars? Do you believe that Forrest Gump should have won? Was there another one of those 4 movies that you believe should have won? Please leave that in the comment below. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because every week we have new exclusive footage or content. We also have our podcast that Mike and I host, Geek Salad. We got the audio feed streaming here on YouTube unless we have a copyright dispute.
I'll look into that. Don't worry.
Please. Oh God, from the grave, Prince, from the grave. So you
of
can
course.
Get huh?
Of course. Prince has powers that we do not yet comprehend.
We will never comprehend that we are just mortal men living in Prince's ethereal world. So yes, we offer exclusive content here on this channel every week. Most of it's movie reviews, but we also have sidebar conversations and stuff like that. So please subscribe, click to be notified. Also, follow our podcast. You can follow us on a number of different services: Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, Google Music. You can even check out the entire archive at geeksalad.podbean.com. If you like what Mike and I have to say and you want to get to know us, please feel free to follow us on Facebook at Geek Salad Radio, at Geek Salad Podcast, and Twitter at Geek Salad Radio. And, please feel free. And if you get a podcast that you want to let us know that we should listen to, please let us know. We've been working with a few other podcasts. I'd love to get on a network with a few of them. So trying to make things happen, but we'll see. Did I forget anything, Mike?
No, sorry. My kitty's just bugging me to try and get out.
Okay. All right. Well, we're wrapping up, Kitty. So, until next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. Talk to you next week.